Welcome to this month's Tenspiration, reinforcing every month with ideas and action steps for continued success. Welcome, Leapers. It's Ryan, and I hope you're ready for this month's Tenspiration. This month's speaker is Brian Safdari. Brian is America's leading authority on getting any student into the college of their choice without using all of your savings, sacrificing your current lifestyle, or going plain broke. After his painful college experience, he decided to devote his life and career helping kids and parents learn the truth about the college paying process and what it takes to receive thousands of dollars of financial aid, regardless of income, assets, and properly fund for the cost of college without going broke. Brian has been featured in LA Times, Daily News, the Signal newspaper, Lifetime Movie Network, Oxygen, CNN, and much more. Welcome, Brian. So, Brian, how did you become America's leading authority in getting a student into their dream college while making it easy on the pockets?
Well, that's a great question. It all started from my personal experience. I never grew up to be a college planner or even know something like this existed. But what happened to me was I was a varsity soccer player in high school. I played soccer my whole life. My dad played pro soccer, and I made the Olympic team in 1996. In 1998, I went to France to represent in the Junior World Cup during the main World Cup event that was going on in France. And my golden ticket in my eyes was, because I was a good soccer player, I would get a full ride to go to my dream college, which was Duke University or North Carolina University or even maybe UCLA. Those were the best Division I colleges in the country. And when I got back from my senior year from France, I tore my growing muscle. So an injury prevented me from going to my dream school, but also the cost was so expensive to go to a private school. I thought I had to go to a state school and live at home. So I turned down my dream schools. I ended up going to Cal State Northridge, which is a great school, but it just wasn't my dream school. All my friends got to go away and get that experience and build relationships with these amazing colleges that helped them land their career job. And I ended up having to go to CSUN, living at home, and I ended up making mistakes on my financial aid form because my parents owned a business, and I made a mistake submitting the FAFSA incorrectly. And because of that, I was disqualified in financial aid, and instead they offered me loans. And because college is such a profitable business, people don't look at it as a business, and I didn't either. I was a victim of this process along millions of other people that just don't know, I got myself in debt. And when I found out, when I got out of school with $53,000 in debt, that I learned I could have gone to a private school for cheaper than a state school, that's when this light bulb hit. And I said, I got to share this with as many parents and families that I can so that others don't become a victim like me. So that's how I got into it, and just my passion of wanting to make a difference in kids' lives and parents' lives just put me up there as one of America's leading authorities in getting kids into their dream school. So it's an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful to be in this position to help so many kids achieve their goals.
Wow, it's a good story. So why is it important for a student to actually attend college?
Well, I think, they say knowledge is power. And the more you learn and the more knowledge you have, the smarter you will become, the more opportunities that come your way, the more money you make, the more success you create, the more people you meet in life. And it's just not, I don't think college is the only answer, but a lot of times people think today, because college is so expensive, or students don't think they can get accepted to their schools because maybe they don't have a 4.8 GPA, or they think they can't get in because it's so hard. If you really know the strategies, you can. But the important thing about going to college is it's the foundation of your life. And it is proven by many high authority agencies, such as like Sally Mae, that 85% of students today that ended up getting their first job would have never been able to get that job had they not gone to college and get a bachelor's degree. Now, we know the media and the TV and, all those cynical writers that are out there want to find something to talk and negative about. And because college tuition keeps going up, it's in the headline news all the time that is it really worth going to college and getting a bachelor's degree because the unemployment rates are so high and all of that. Well, you know, the news are always going to find the negative, not the positive. So I always want to encourage students and parents to not take advice from the news thinking that if you don't go to college, you don't really need it and you don't need to invest $100,000 for a college education because it's not going to pay off. They say when you get a bachelor's degree, you make $1.5 million more than not having a bachelor's degree in your career. And if you get a master's degree, you make $2.5 million and more having a post-grad degree after your bachelor's. And then another big point I want to make on this thing, that's a great question that you asked me, why should students even go to college? Well, in the old days when parents went to school, they didn't really need to have a college degree for the jobs and the careers that they've established today. But today, a student cannot just wing it and go out and work their way up the ladder in corporate America to even get close to getting the job that the parents got. So today's economy is totally different in landing your job than it's ever been before. So your minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree. And we'll talk a little bit more about this. I think going into the right schools and building the right relationships at the right colleges that have success on landing students their career jobs, I think that's really important, not just a bachelor's degree or to go to college.
Okay, good info. So how does a student find the right college? Speaking of right colleges, how does a student find the right college and get accepted into the right college for them?
Oh, good question. Well, a lot of times what students do is generally they wait till the junior year of high school, and then their counselors start talking about the college buzz, and then they start thinking about college, and everything is like a reactive approach. And the biggest mistake students and parents make is they get advice from they get general counseling advice, or they get advice from friends and family versus getting advice from real experts or former admissions officers or financial aid officers and people who really occupy this space that understand how the system works today on getting accepted and finding the right fit school. So we at College Planning Expert, we service all of the entire country, and I've worked with over 25,000 families. And working with so many parents and students, you end up becoming an expert because you spend so many hours. So it's been 10 years for me now, since 2004, when I opened College Planning Expert, like I said, all because of my personal mistakes. And when you work with so many students and you're in the trenches every day, working with admissions officers and financial aid officers on how they truly accept students and parents, it's totally different than what the counselors in the schools or the people think it is, which the general rule of thumb to go to college to find the right school is get good grades and get good SAT scores and be well-rounded and join all these organizations, and that's going to help you get in. Well, that's kind of leaving things to hope and chance. You don't want to do that. What we do, and I'm going to share, hopefully this helps students and parents, because I want to give as much value to all the LEAP parents and the members that can make the biggest difference. The important thing for a parent is start with why first, meaning why is the student going to go to college? Why are they thinking about, whatever career it is that really the right career? So instead of us working on finding the right schools first, we back up and we think about, let's do career planning and find a student's interest, a student's value, and a student's skill set. A lot of students, when they pick their colleges and their majors, it's because they like it. They watch House on TV and they want to be a doctor, or they watch, whatever it is. When I was in high school, I would come home every day and watch Chips, and I wanted to be a motorcycle cop. So it's the influence that we get from TV or people we know, but what we don't bring in the picture is, are we really going to be good at it? Are we going to have the skill set? Now, in order for a student to be passionate about what they do, sometimes they don't know and have the guidance to find their passion. They know what they like, but they really don't know what their passion is. And then the definition of passion to me is your interest, your values, and your skills. values would be like, I like to work with kids, or I love dogs and animals. I like education and kids because I made mistakes, and that's a value for me because I love working with kids and parents. So just because you like something doesn't mean you're going to be good at it, or just because you're good at something doesn't mean you like it. But if you like something and you find your skill set to see if you're going to be good at it, and you also have the values for it, those three things trigger your passion. So that's the first driving force. When I can help a student find their passion, they no longer need to be nagged that, hey, you should go to college, or you should go to take your classes and do well. I don't have to push my students to do well in school, because when we work smart versus working hard, when we help the student find their vision, their why, their purpose in life, and their passion, and then we show them going into their purpose and their passion in life, here's how you can make money, and here are the fields and careers that you're going to have a passion for. When you have the passion and you're going into a career that there's a high need for it in the future, like it's a high demand, it's impossible not to be successful once you get your bachelor's degree or post-grad degree. A lot of times I see students making mistakes that they go, I'm passionate about music. Well, how much money can you really make, and what are you really going to do to be successful? You're going to get a $100,000 degree in music, but you don't really know if that's really the field, or is there going to be a job for it, or are you going to get paid any money to be able to get that return on investment on that degree? It's pointless. You shouldn't be focusing on that. You can do music as a passion or a hobby for fun, but how can you use your skill set and music in the real world where there's a need for it? So we back up to sum that up for you, we really focus on the career planning first, and what passion a student is going to have, and what careers there's a need for it in the future. Because those careers from 10 years ago till today have changed, and in the next 10 years, the whole careers and where jobs are going and how people make money are totally different than what it is today. So I would hate for a student to go into a career that in 5 to 10 years, that career is going to be obsolete, and they spent all this time and money for that degree. So we start off with the careers, then we help the students find the right schools. And as far as finding the right schools, instead of just looking at schools based on your academics, you want to build a relationship with the colleges. So go out and visit the colleges that you think you like, because when you do a real tour and you build a relationship with the admissions office, you're showing the school that you really have a desire to come to the school. And by doing that, that increases your chance on getting accepted. It's not just the grades and the SAT scores that the colleges care about. They get too many students with a 4.0 and a 2300 and the 2400 on the SATs. So the academic is not the main factor on getting in. It's what makes you unique and different, and building that relationship with the college makes the biggest difference on getting accepted. Sorry for that long answer, but I want to make sure no one misses that.
That's really, really good info, and I'm actually hearing a lot of LEAP terms that we've used, finding your why, passion, all that stuff. So that's a really, really good answer. Thank you for that. So let's talk more about what the parents are interested in. How much does it cost today for just a bachelor's degree?
Well, a bachelor's degree, your Cal States are about $25,000 a year. Your UC schools are $35,000 a year, and your private schools are anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 or more per year. So you can be looking at anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 for a bachelor's degree without any discount, meaning no grants, financial aid, just the raw cost of attendance, the total cost. And if we're looking at a bachelor's degree, sometimes obviously someone will say, well, I'm going to go to a community college first and then transfer. Well, even if you're going to do that, you can easily get to $100,000, even if you're going to transfer from a community college. You can actually go straight to a private school for cheaper than going to a community college and then transferring to a school if you understand how the system really works. So for a bachelor's degree today, 100 to 300. Typically, my families, when parents that I see have really spent the time time and the energy and really dissecting how the higher education system really works. Just like how there's, strategies on tax planning. You don't walk into the IRS office to say, how do I reduce my tax liability so I don't have to pay you, Mr. Uncle Sam? You go and hire a CPA that has experience, and you invest in a good CPA that teaches you the tricks and the strategies so that you can legally and ethically minimize your cost of college. So if we're looking at just sticker price, I gave those big numbers, but you can easily get 50, 60, 70% off on those $100,000 to $300,000 college education if you really know how to work the system in the right way.
Wow. Whenever you start spewing out those big numbers, I thought I asked how much is like the general population of a college. Those are some big numbers, Brian. So how is a parent supposed to afford to pay for college?
Well, there's many different ways. A lot of times we think about, grants and financial aid is a key factor for any family. It doesn't matter what the income level is for the family. If you can get free money, regardless of your income or your assets, no one till today, 25,000 families, not one family that makes seven figures and that are like my big-time high-income people that they just don't think they make money. Even those people have never told me, well, if it's free money that I'm entitled to, I'm not going to say no to it. But high-income families get money because the schools look at you and say you may become an alumni and you may become, become an endowment and a donor at the school. So they're not giving you money because you really need it, but they're building a relationship. And colleges want high-income families because that's how they make more money. It's a business. So one way of paying college is, obviously getting grants and scholarships. By getting grants and scholarship, it reduces and shrinks your college costs. So that's one way to minimize the cost, to make the cost more affordable. Another thing is cash. You can pay cash or savings. You can borrow loans to fund college. Some people borrow private loans from the bank that are really high in interest that I don't recommend. Colleges are a business, so when you walk into the school and you're trying to get them to help you, don't think that they're going to look out for your best interest, because just because they give you free advice doesn't mean the free advice is really putting you on the right track, because they're going to steer you towards these loans that benefit the school, and they get kickbacks and rebates and so forth. So just because they tell you this loan is good, like private loans, doesn't mean that's really the right loan. They're looking out for what's best to them. So we really want to look at the ways to fund college in a way that can ensure a family can fund college without jeopardizing their retirement. So it's really, really important to understand all your funding options. So borrowing, savings. Some people use their retirement money that they have, unfortunately, because they just don't know, and they think they have to use their retirement money to fund college, and I hate to see families do that. And, in life, I made this mistake when I went to school. Had I known there's people like me that existed, I would gladly invest whatever it would have cost to hire someone. That way I wouldn't have had $53,000 in unnecessary debt, and I could have gone to my dream school and got out in 4 years versus 5 years. So you just don't know what you don't know until you know it. And people just think that they did things correctly, but they don't even really know if they really did stuff correctly. So they end up, borrowing their home equity and losing their homes and messing up their retirement. And there are many, many ways that families can fund college. I usually tell families, when you pay for college, you want to think of three big goals in your life. And in 10 years that I've been working with families, the three biggest goals in your life is funding college, paying off your house, and not running out of money for retirement. Those are the top three biggest goals that a family brings to my attention when I'm working with them. So how can we fund college without sacrificing a family's retirement and savings, and still allow the student to go to their dream school without the parents being strapped and falling into a financial crisis? So those are just the different ways on funding college. And there's so many different things that I've seen families that, high-income family. I had a family recently. I have the president of Magic Mountain that actually is cousins with Dr. Bill Dorfman. Her name is Bonnie Rabjohn, and she's relatives with Dr. Bill Dorfman, and she's my client. She's been my client for about 5 years now. And Sydney, her second daughter, is at Chapman University, and obviously the Rabjohn family is a really high-income family, and we're paying 50% of the entire college cost. So instead of paying $60,000 a year, we're paying about $30,000 to $35,000 a year to go to Chapman University versus going to a state school. So there's so much opportunities if you really know how to find it.
Wow. Wow. So can we go back to that light bulb moment that you had whenever you realized that going to a private school was more affordable than actually going to a state school? How is that even possible?
So good question. So basically how a school determines and how I help a family determine what the cost of college is going to be. The mistake that parents make is in the junior year when they're shopping for colleges and they're visiting colleges, they're looking at the sticker price and they're telling the student, no, it's not going to happen, because they're looking at the cost of attendance. They're not looking at the net cost. So when you look at the sticker price, obviously the private schools are going to sound more expensive. But the parents need to understand something called their expected family contribution. It's EFC. And the expected family contribution, parents don't even know what this is. It's basically a number that the government and the schools think you can actually afford for college. And whatever the difference of the EFC and the cost is, translates into something called a need. Need, the definition of need, is how much financial aid the family is eligible for. Now, I'm not talking about financial aid because they're low income and all of that. I'm just talking about no matter what your income level is, you can have a need. So, for example, let's say the school cost is $60,000. We're looking at USC, and a family has a $60,000 expected family contribution. If you subtract the cost by the EFC, 60 minus 60, you don't have a need, so you're not going to get money. But when a family knows how to minimize their EFC by planning their finances correctly, they may have 529 and college savings accounts that they don't know that they listed on the financial aid forms that's hurting them from getting financial aid because their EFC goes up. They list their home equity on the financial aid forms on the FAFSA. Your primary residence, you're not supposed to list the equity on your home, and if you do, you've made a mistake and they're not going to come back and tell you. So that jacks up your EFC, which means then on paper you're showing the school you can afford for more college, and now you're just disqualified for financial aid. So when I made that mistake, we listed my parents' business on the financial aid form, and on the special instructions page that I didn't know about, it said if you have less than 100 employees in your business, you put 0 for the value of your business. And I didn't know that. I was being honest, so I listed the value of the business, and it disqualified us because my EFC went up. Now, with that scenario that family had a $60,000 EFC, let's say they listed their primary residence or their 401k or certain assets on the financial aid forms that they're not supposed to. By the way, on the FAFSA, there's a 91% error rate because parents don't really understand how to fill these out correctly with strategies. So your EFC goes up, which basically puts the school in the driving hand of deciding how much money they want to give you. So when we bring the EFC down, let's say we took the EFC from 60,000 down to 30,000 because the parents made a mistake. Now they have a $30,000 EFC, and it has nothing to do with their income. So now if the cost of the school is 60 and your EFC is 30, 60 minus 30, you have a $30,000 need, which means the school could give you potentially $30,000 in free money. If we're going to USC, if you have a $30,000 EFC and the cost is 60, you're going to get 80% of that money, of that $30,000 need, 100% free, that you never have to pay back.
Wow.
So that means the parent doesn't really pay 60, they pay about 30 to 35,000 to go to USC versus 60. The problem is that when you're searching for colleges, the advice I give for parents and students, do not steer away from private schools because of the sticker price. You want to learn that formula that I shared, cost of attendance, which is the total cost of school, minus your expected family contribution equals need. Your goal is to go to a more expensive school and reduce your EFC, because automatically based on that formula, your need goes up. The higher your need goes, the more money you're eligible at the college. And then there's other questions that I teach at my 90-minute workshops that I host at all over Southern California, and on my website, I can give families a 90-minute workshop that teaches them step-by-step how to go to a private school for cheaper than the state school and how to get free money regardless of your income or your assets and fund college without jeopardizing your retirement. So I do this workshop for 90 minutes for parents just to give back and teach this stuff. So I'm sure the LEAP families would want to take advantage of that so they can have access to the webinar if they can't come to one of my local workshops. But if they are local and anywhere in LA County, they can actually go to a live event. But either way, whether it's on a webinar or a live event, they can learn all of this stuff that they've never learned about.
All right. So Brian, how does a family get financial aid even if they make too much money or have too many assets?
Good question. Most families think that financial aid is for low-income family because they think about a grant called like the Pell Grant or the Cal Grant. And if you make over $100,000 a year, I get so many parents coming to me saying, "Hey, we're not going to get any money because my neighbor told me they made $100,000 a year and they didn't get any money." Well, how do you know your neighbor did things correctly? What drives me nuts, because I made this mistake and I wish I was smart enough to know this when I was going, but because I didn't know, I paid the price, is people get advice from followers. So the followers start following the followers that really don't know where they get that advice, but people end up taking their friends' advice because they trust their friends. Not that their friends and their people that they know are looking or doing things bad for that family. It just, they don't know. They just say what they think they know, and they take that as a literal advice, and they end up losing out on money. But when you make too much money, there's three different ways that you get financial aid, meaning there's three banks at the college. There's something called need-based money, which we just talked about, and I showed the formula to get need-based money. You can get merit-based financial aid, and merit sounds like you have to have high academics. At some school, yes, like UCLA, some of the Ivy League schools and some of the high elite schools, they may look at your GPA and SAT scores on getting the merit-based money. But if you're just banking on merit, you're losing out on need-based money that you're entitled to, and institutional merit, which is another bank that the schools have in money that they give for any reason that they want to give money. I always tell families we want to maximize all three banks: need-based, merit-based, and institutional merit. For example, I have a student at Abilene Christian University in Texas, and if you have a 3.4 GPA and above, you'll get an average of $4,000 to $6,000 in merit money. But most people think that merit means you have to have a 4.0. Now, on the other hand, you can go to UCLA and have a 4.2 GPA. Doesn't even mean you're going to get in or get any merit money, because you still are not on the top 10% of the academic students going into UCLA to get any kind of merit money. So it's not a cookie cutter that just because you have 4.0 and you're taking AP classes, you think you're automatically going to get merit money. And a lot of families are, they're blown by this, and they get frustrated and they go, "Oh my God, my student did so well and we worked so hard and we thought we were going to get all this academic scholarship, and they got zero money." There are formulas on how to maximize getting merit money and institutional money, just like how I gave the formula on need-based. Another example is a family that makes 7 figures is not going to get free money because of need-based, but the schools know when you make a lot of money, because you have to submit your financial aid form, they give you institutional merit because they know that in the long term of the school and the history of these colleges, the people that give more money are the high income alumni that graduated, that have more money that they just donate to the school, and they give 10, 15, 20,000 a year to families that make a lot of money. So the colleges are giving families 30, 40% off to high income earners, because they know those families in the long term will end up giving back to the school. And a lot of the high income families don't know that, and they don't know how to maximize getting institutional merit that is basically entitled to them only. So need-based, merit-based, and institutional, if you maximize all of those, any income level families can get financial aid. So I always tell families, always submit financial aid forms. Don't assume you make too much money.
Wow. Good information. I just have one more question for you, Brian, and then I'll let you go. When should when should any family begin their college planning period? When should they begin their college planning?
Well, our families that we've worked with, I speak at middle school, and the middle schools understand the value of planning, and in order to get into really good colleges, you want to start planning in 8th and ninth grade. So the best time to really start planning the child's college education, even though the student is not thinking about college in 8th and ninth grade, doesn't know what they want to do, are not even in tune to that. They need to understand the process they need to take, the type of classes they need to take in high school, the organizations and the extracurricular activities that they need to join so that they stay on track, so that they're college bound, so that way by the 10th and 11th grade year, when they start getting a little bit more mature and serious, then they're not looking back at these colleges that they really want to go to and say, oh my God, I wish I woulda, coulda done all of these things that I need to, because it's so competitive getting into the colleges. So it's not really hard getting in. What the biggest problem that I've seen is parents and students put this off until like the 10th and 11th grade year, and sometimes even into the senior year. And then when they start looking at the academic process, they realize that it's so late to try to get into their dream schools. So I tell families, if you want to go to your dream schools or the child's dream schools, whenever we know what those dream schools are going to be, we have to start planning in 8th grade, no later than ninth grade. Now, if a family's in 10th and 11th grade, I get a lot of families I work with in 10th and 11th grade, even senior year. I even have families that come to me that their kids are already in college right now, and they made mistakes on the financial aid form, and they want to make sure they're getting money. So we'll work with them for the last 2 or 3 years that they have left in college, because the financial aid process repeats itself every single year. So you have to do the financial aid process every year. So it's never too late to get financial aid. But as far as getting into your dream school and planning that out, I would say 9th and 10th grade, 8th, 9th grade is generally the best time to get started.
Perfect. So I hope you guys heard that. It's not too late if you're still in college. I hope you guys are taking notes, because this is information that I wish I would have known, Brian, whenever I was in college. So good stuff. Now, you're located in the LA County, but you work with families nationwide. Where can they find your information and how to reach you?
So families can go to www.collegeplanningexperts.com. Our phone number is 661-295-9946. And if they're in the local LA County area, you can look at our website and you'll see live workshops that we have coming, that we actually teach all the stuff that we did in 30 minutes. We spend 90 minutes, and we really go through so much more things that most parents and more we teach counselors at the high schools. I speak at over 75 high schools, from private high schools to public high schools, on the stuff, because the counselors are great to work with, but they don't have all the experience and the knowledge that is required to get into your best fit college and make sure that the families can get financial aid and fund it. So I tell families the 3 biggest pillars that you want to think about is finding the best fit college and getting in, shrinking your cost by getting financial aid on those 3 banks that I talked about, and funding college in a way so that way it doesn't mess up your retirement. So those are the 3 biggest pillars that we work with families. But if they go on my website, if there's a local workshop, feel free to attend those workshops. If we don't have a workshop, I would say you can contact my office, and for all of the LEAP members, let them know that they're a LEAP member, and because I spoke at LEAP 2 years ago, and plus Dr. Bill Dorfman obviously is my client. His 2 twin girls are in my program, so I just have this attachment to LEAP students and the LEAP organization, and I will make sure that I can personally handhold them and provide them with whatever information they need. And then if I think I can help them out, I'll let them know what our service is, what the investment is for me to do all the work. If I can't help the family, I'll put them on the right track and tell them what to do so that they're on a better position than where I first met them.
Thanks, Brian. Hey, Leapers. For more info on college planning experts, Brian invites you to visit his website at www.collegeplanningexperts.com. Thanks again to Brian, and thank you, Leapers, for tuning in. For more LEAP info and news, visit our website at www.leapfoundation.com, like us on Facebook at /Leap Foundation, and follow us on Twitter at Leap Los Angeles. Until next time, Leapers, make it a great week. You're a 10.